was your high school's biggest scandal? At my old grammar school, we had a head teacher by the name of Mr. Dingle. Around a year after our class year had left school, stories started emerging about Mr. Dingle. During his tenure at the Royal Grammar School, Tim Dingle was considered a respectable and dignified headmaster and was as straight-laced as they come. During his time at school, however, it came to light that he wasn't quite as admirable as he portrayed himself. An undercover reporter managed to sting him on webcam site, where he was sharing intimate conversations with a lady. Although he was then married, he was walking about how he wanted this lady to treat him like a dog and use high heels to stomp on his junk, as well as wax his junk. He was doing this using the school computers and technology. Following this investigation, the press were able to dig out some much more serious allegations via his wife. It came to light that headmaster, Mr. Dingle, had been holding intimacy and substance parties at his multi-million-pound house, which backs onto the school playing field. At these parties, Tim and his guests took copious amounts of snow which he had confiscated from his pupils. The pupils, who he confiscated these from, would have gotten suspensions or expulsion for possession of the substances, but Mr. Dingle was quite happy dishing out the punishment, then rolling using himself. Following his dismissal from the Royal Grammar School and subsequent failure to be accepted for a prestigious Buenos Aires-based international school, Tim pursued his career in public speaking and business training for a short time, with limited success. A few years later, one of my friends from school was going through the list of acts which were to perform at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which is an annual comedy and arts festival held in Edinburgh, Scotland, and who should he see on the listings but our good friend Mr. Dingle. When we were sent this over WhatsApp, the group went wild and we knew we had to see him. This is the guy who suspended me from school for a week for smoking cigarettes in the playing field, suspended a dozen boys for trading CDs on school grounds and many others for other misdemeanors. Us being in the southeast of England and Mr. Dingle performing up in Scotland, it would be difficult, if not impossible, to get us all there. After some short searches, we found that he was doing a warm-up gig in a small venue in London. Given that his show was named Giving Brain, the tickets pretty much booked themselves. The night came and we made sure to get there early and grab front row seats, following a half-dozen pints at the venue's bar beforehand. We were ready to face the man who suspended so many but was more guilty of anything we had ever done perform stand-up in front of us. The headline act for the night was a comedian named Paul Foot, who is marginally famous in the UK and has done some TV appearances, and so the venue was sold out, although the common consensus is that Paul Foot is genuinely not funny. Following Paul Foot, Mr. Dingle was the next biggest act performing there and was preceded by two very poor, amateur acts, who didn't go down particularly well by anyone in the crowd. So, the moment of truth arrives and the MC gets back on the mic. He gives Mr. Dingle a lengthy intro, basically outlining everything that was in the first part of my post here. The music played as his entrance was cued and we all looked at each other in excitement. The song he chose was X Gon Give It To You. I cannot make this up. What was about to happen? Would he recognize us? We all made efforts to dig out our old school ties to wear, and 90% of us managed to get a hold of one. As the music comes to its peak, we see him. He is entering from stage right and is wearing a full-length red dress, supposedly similar to the one he was caught wearing at his parties, along with some knee-high ladies' boots. His routine begins and we are all polite and haven't heckled a peep, mostly in shock about what is happening 2 meters in front of us on stage. Our old headmaster, once leader of one of the most prestigious schools in the UK, is standing in front of us in a red dress and knee-high boots, performing an amazingly crass comedy routine. He's getting laughs too. I think mostly it is because the crowd has sat through 2 awful acts before and felt they need to force it out just so they don't feel shortchanged, or it could be that a front row of young lads are gradually causing more and more of a ruckus as the most mind-blowing thing is happening in front of them, and this may have filtered backwards into the crowd. The routine lasted around an hour and included a PowerPoint presentation to go along with it. As far as amateur stand-up goes, he wasn't terrible, given that he had the pressure of a dozen ex-pupils sitting in front of him. Knowing everything that has come to light, he managed to keep his cool. I was invited up on stage at one point to participate and hand him my tie, which was probably one of the most surreal things I've done in my recent memory. Alexa, play Itches Ain't Shit by Dr. Dre. My crib midget has evolved into a min-human, and my mini-human is now in an adult male body which is, unfortunately, still outfitted with a teenage brain. Don't worry though, he knows everything. I myself have a late 30s model body, but my teenage brain is coming along well. That said, my loving wife is still able to maintain her sanity with 2.5 boys and 0.5 male adults in the house. However, the house was too small and we needed more leg room. We decided to move on up. The new house is everything we wanted. There is ample room for the growing family. The boys would conquer the upstairs, and even have their own bathroom to grow science experiments. They occasionally fail to brush their teeth, but you can most certainly count on them to piss in/on everything except the toilet. Cake, my 11-yo mini-human, shares my obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD, and keeps his room in working order. Kelly, my 15-yo man-child genius? Well, just don't touch that sock under his bed. Typical boy shit, I suppose. My wife and I now had a backyard. We had a 2-car garage to store her Christmas and Halloween decorations. The neighborhood is gorgeous, and I can literally walk to the clubhouse and play a round of golf. The cul-de-sac we live on is dominated by currently serving or retired military families. Everyone was extremely welcoming at the Homeowners Association, HOA, and the neighbors were all friendly. Well, at least for the moment. I have read about neighbor horror stories. I have seen them on television. I never in a million years thought I would live next to them. I am a gunfighter by trade. Believe it or not, I don't like war. I like my job, but I don't enjoy the carnage of war. I am a realist though. I would totally cast my ballot for world peace, but I know it only takes one asshole to ruin it for everyone. My immediate neighbors became those assholes. Enter the entitled parents, Kevin and Karen. They seemed nice at first. They were both really helpful, especially Kevin. Kevin had served in the Air Force, and Karen was a stay-at-home mother. They enlightened me regarding the neighborhood, the quality of the area schools, and told me the tips and tricks to avoid any hassle with the HOA. Effing great, right? Coronavirus, COVID-19, zombie apocalypse. The onset of COVID-19 forced the school district to cancel the remainder of the school year so the boys didn't turn into zombies. However, the mass hysteria allowed my humanoids to become semi-professional Fortnite gamers, whom smelled like ball funk, and survived on soda and zebra cakes. They were quickly becoming chubby bunnies. I, being neighborly, informed Kevin and Karen that I would be in the market for a portable basketball hoop to combat childhood obesity and type 2 diabetes. Side note, I remember shit. It can be quite literally a matter of life or death in my occupation, so I remember things vividly. Pleasantries, some other words. I am thinking about getting a basketball hoop for the boys. Karen, that's great. It's so good to have young children in the neighborhood again. Kevin, you know you can't put it in the street, right? It is against HOA rules. Kevin is a rules guy. Well aware. I will be putting it on the back pad. Karen, that's great. If the ball ever goes over the fence, just tell them to come get it. Awesome. It was a positive interaction, and they had no issue. Onward to Walmart. My children are well behaved. They may act like little shitheads to each other and inside the house, but they are both kind and courteous to others. Despite Karen's instructions, I told them to knock on the door if the ball ever goes over the fence. So they did. First bounce over my door. Knock, knock, knock. Hey Kevin, how can I help you? Kevin, annoyed, the ball went over the fence. Did the boys knock and ask to get it? Kevin, yes, I just wanted to let you know. I spoke to my wife afterwards. That was odd, was all I could think. Is the guy going to let me know each time the ball goes over the fence? Maybe I should knock on his door? Hey Kevin, just wanted to let you know that your car is parked in the driveway. This process quickly became a routine for Kevin. Kevin became a self-licking ice cream cone. Kevin came over 6 times over the course of about 3 months. My wife began keeping tallies because it was odd but somewhat comical. Then shit started to get real. Cake came running in the house scared. He had tears in his eyes, and he was continually reiterating, I didn't do anything wrong. Nobody has accused me of being world's best dad, so I was wondering if he did in fact do something wrong. I forego waterboarding Cake, this time, and ask what he is talking about. Cake stated, Karen is recording me. What? I look outside and sure as shit, I see Karen, at the fence, and pointing her cell phone at me as if it was a loaded gun. I think, well F my tits, because I know my wife is going to lose her shit. She did. My wife is dainty, but she quickly turned into a 4 feet 11 inches Muhammad Ali. Man, it took every effing ounce of verbal reasoning for me to stop her from physically rearranging Karen's face meat. In addition to remembering things for work, I have to be well read regarding the laws that govern me as an American, and the locals' laws. I knew Karen's tactic to scare and record Cake was immoral and unethical, but it was perfectly legal. This didn't sit well with my wife though. I reminded the wife that I have a doctorate in revenge from Emory University, FU, and this would not go unanswered. I can be a prick too, but I am a methodical prick. I did my best to erect makeshift barriers as a temporary solution. It was not perfect, but at least it showed that we were doing everything in our power to prevent balls from going over the fence. I also submitted plans for a permanent structure to the HOA. I was going to build a hanging herb garden wall, but it required approval before construction could start. The typical approval timeline was 2 weeks, but in addition to shitting on Earth, COVID-19 also shit on the approval process. I was in limbo. Tragically, another basketball fell victim to the senseless violence. It was the 9th basketball in approximately 8 months. The kids were terrified to ask for their basketball back, and it wasn't even worth the hassle anymore. That didn't stop Kevin though. 9th bounce over knock, knock, knock. Ken, op home? Wife, yes, but he injured his back. How can I help you? Ken, get up please. I should mention that Kevin is outwardly sexist and is not a fan of coloreds. Wife, Kevin, op, can't even walk right now. How can I help you? Ken, the basketball went over the fence again. It needs to stop. They need to stop playing basketball. He was now telling my wife how to parent. Good luck buddy. Wife, I am sorry the ball went over the fence. We continue to tell the children to be careful, but I am not going to tell them they can't play basketball in their own yard. Ken, you'll tell your boys to stop playing. If the ball comes over the fence again, we are calling the cops. Tell your boys to stay out of our yard. They're trespassing. Wife, if you want to call the cops then you go ahead and do it. However, the boys do not go in your yard at all anymore. I was losing my shit in the bedroom. I could hear the conversation, but I physically could not make the front door. I managed to slide off the bed and began my army crawl to the door, but I was late. My wife was fuming and I was pissed, and pathetically crawling on the floor. Yay back injuries. We had no intention of starting a war, but the boys were doing nothing wrong. We had informed Kevin we were getting a hoop, and they had zero issues with it. What the F was going on? 10th bounce over the cops are called. Check out the story unfolding in the update. Alexa, play Itches Ain't Shit by Dr. Dre conclusion. Well, I don't know why, but I remember something that Kevin discussed with me when we first moved in. The effing trees. They have a large maple tree, and they have a juniper tree. Kevin always told me they were in the process of contracting a company to crown and lift the maple tree. Furthermore, They were going to get the juniper tree off my fence. Dear reader, I know the law too. I can legally trim anything that goes over my property line. Now all those pointless conversations were making sense. It was my time to join this exciting game called pettiness. Op. Karen, you have until Sunday to get your juniper off my fence. Karen, shut up. I told you we were going to get it handled this fall. Op. It's June. You have until Sunday, Karen. Or what? I allow my wife to rejoin the conversation, and I retreat to the garage. I grab my clippers, and prune a good couple inches of the juniper tree, and lay them at her feet. Q T-Rex effing a volcano voice. Karen, what the hell do you think you are doing? I told you IT will be done this fall. Op. You have until Saturday now. Karen, you are dumb too, just like your wife, aren't you? My intelligence may have been debatable, but I suppose it was time to repeat the process. I now return with about 2 feet of tree, and place it at her feet. I am like Momo Makefo of FF Lady. Op. You have until Friday. Karen, you better not touch my tree again. I will call the cops and have you thrown in jail tonight. You're so dumb, aren't you? Now I see where you children get it from. Op. I know the law too, Karen. I will be back in a minute with some more of your juniper tree. Karen, Kevin, Kev I5 and I again return to the tree. I now have another 2 feet of juniper tree to place at her feet. The more she screams, the smaller her tree becomes. It was an enjoyable game of cause and effect. Meanwhile, I see Kevin and Kevin Jr. running like Usain Bolt to secure their tree with toe straps. Karen, I hope you're happy. You are terrible people. You are both terrible parents, and your children are heathens. I am sick of ball bouncing and waking my son up too. You people need to move. You're just horrible parents. Horrible. Screaming louder, horrible parents. Dear reader, I had enough. I was at critical mass. I was going to explode. Karen continued to yell at my wife and I was zoning out. It was comical to watch Kevin and Kevin Jr. secure the tree to their porch in order to get it off the fence. Once complete, they quickly made their way back to the one-sided screaming party. Karen, horrible parents. Look what they did to my poor tree. Kevin, I think we should call the cops, dear. Karen, horrible parents. I feel sorry for your kids and Op. Just shut the F up. I raked up 21 bags of leaves this past fall. 21. Funny, because we don't have a tree in our backyard. I pulled an additional bag's worth of leaves and branches from my gutter. Not from my tree either. It was from your tree. You know what, Kevin? I didn't bitch. I didn't knock on your door and complain. Kevin, yeah, and, Op, we live in a suburbia. This shit happens. They are kids. Kids effing play outside. I don't want the ball in your yard either. You accuse of them of being in your yard. You also accuse them of breaking mulch. How in the F do you break mulch? Are you effing serious? Really? Karen, yes really. Maybe you should learn how to parent your horrible children. Op just effing lost IT. Wait for the surprise. Op, know what? That's the last time you question me about my parenting. My children are going to grow up and be productive members of our society. I find it comical that you have the audacity to question my parenting, seeing how you have wait for IT, a 49-year-old son living at your house for the past 9 years. I assume it was because of the divorce and the bankruptcy he filed 9 years ago? My children are waking your child up? Your child is a jobless 49-year-old man living at home with mom and dad. Is he working on a startup? Prestige worldwide maybe? Boats and Haas. Karen, effing baffled. How do you know any of that? Do you go snooping through our mail too? Op, I am good at what I do, and I found everything online. I know you are 69, and lost your license due to reckless endangerment charge in 2017. I know Kevin Jr. has 5 different moving violations and 1 DUI. I also know he was fired from his grounds crew job with a HOA. I know your husband is 72 and wears the same effing shirt every day, so I can only assume that laundry is not a priority. I know your phone numbers and email accounts. I know a lot of shit about you. Your child is 49 and lives at home. Maybe you should be more worried about your parenting and less about mine. We can have a civil relationship or we can have a war. Just remember this though, I'm going to effing outlive you. They stormed in the house. They were not happy or impressed with my ability to figure shit out. It was not over for me though. They effed with the wrong head. They were unaware of actions I took to keep the peace. For example, I never let the boys play basketball while they were outside eating dinner. I didn't let them play before 9 or after 7. I tried, but they would play Blair country music and enjoy the gorgeous weather and eat a meal. I never bitch about Garth Brooks on volume 100 while I watched the national news. I was teleworking, and I took free up as a part-time job now. I have wrestled since I was 4 years old. I was never much of a basketball guy. I am now though. Karen and Kevin had just sat down to enjoy their meal. I don't have to spy either. I can easily see them out my French doors as I watch the national news. I patiently waited for the sloth speed of heads to get their outside dinner setting perfectly situated. I could hear Tim McGraw playing when I opened my French doors. I like music too, so I figured I would get my groove and play basketball. Op, Alexa, Amazon, play Itches Ain't Shit by Dr. Dre. Alexa, Bleep and Bleep by Dr. Dre. Op, Alexa, Volume 10. I have a new fondness for rap music in the game of basketball. This didn't stop Karen from recording my heathens on a daily basis. I know what I was about to do was petty, but I had 0 Fs to give at that point. I had one last FU. It was my final card to play, an Uno reverse card of sorts. My neighbors, across the street, and my family have bonded. He had a tree removed last week, and I had an epiphany. How much would it cost to trim a large maple tree that overhangs my property? I am not talking a couple branches either, but more like 1/2 of a more than 100-foot tree. I approached the tree removal company and offered them a sizable chunk of change and informed them of my delicate problem. They said, Any friend of my neighbor is a friend of theirs. Pro bono. They move their large equipment over to my backyard and take their time getting ready. Guess who came running out of the house? No. Not Brad Pitt. F. Get your shit together, reader. Karen and Kevin came running out. Kevin. Hey buddy. Buddy, not a fed, not horrible parent. Buddy, op, what can I do for you? Kevin, what are they doing here? Op. Oh, them, points? Kevin. Yeah, what are they doing? Op. Oh, well, they are going to trim the tree? Kevin. Just trim? Op. Yup, just a little trim. Karen, you know that tree was a gift from our daughter, right? We don't want anything drastic. It has been with us for over 40 years now. Kevin. Yeah, it was a gift from our daughter. How much are you thinking about trimming? Op. Well, just so you're aware, you understand that I can legally trim anything that overhangs my property? I have approval from my lawyer and the HOA to trim it. Frankly, I care as much about your tree as you do my children's privacy. I could effing care less. Kevin, how much are you talking about trimming then? Op. My property line is here. I point, and it extends up. I point up, to space. I am going to trim every single branch that encroaches my property. So, probably about 1/3 of your tree. It's gonna look really effing funny when I am done. Oh well. Karen started to cry. It was a really, really ugly cry. There was no more rage left in her. She was defeated. Kevin was defeated as well. This was not my desire. Don't get me wrong, I don't care if she cried, but it was not my intent. Op. Or you can stop recording my effing children. Karen, looking like snot-nosed Carol Baskin, if I stop recording? Op. Look, we don't have to like each other, because I certainly don't effing like you guys. My boys never go in your yard. Ever. I don't give shit if you keeps the other basketballs, but I will be damned if you effing record them ever again. If you do, I will cut your tree down without warning. Kevin, pissed. Thanks bud. Op. No worries friend. I am just trying to be neighborly. Just remember, I am dead serious about the tree, and I am pretty certain I will outlive you.